Whatever you do, make sure you visit ashkicking.com for your home fragrance, health, and beauty needs. Quality products at a great price.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo! Hey.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So just like I said in my last video, just like I've been saying ever since Canelo Alvarez pulled out of the fight with Golovkin, this is not only bad for Canelo, but this is bad for Golovkin as well. Because now Golovkin, he's going to be pressured into fighting against some of the toughest competition at 160. I've been saying for quite some time, if you really think about it, Canelo and Golovkin, they needed each other because in a certain sense, they were each other's safest opponents. I mean, it's a 50-50 fight. But when you look at Golovkin versus Charlo, you look at Canelo versus Danny Jacobs, you look at Golovkin versus Demetrius Andrade, those are much tougher fights than Golovkin facing Canelo Alvarez. So with that being said, to get you guys up to date, since Canelo pulled out of this fight, Gennady Golovkin, he was looking at opponents like Spike Sullivan of Ireland and Jaime Munguia from Mexico. Now, Jaime is not even ranked in the top 15 in any organization, which is why Nevada State Athletic Commission, they just pulled the plug on the idea of Golovkin picking him as his replacement opponent on May 5th. Now, that forces Team Golovkin to scramble even more. They're looking at this Spike Sullivan character once again, this Irish fighter. But you guys have to understand, this fight is going to be on pay-per-view. So how much of a hit is this pay-per-view going to take if they go from watching Canelo Alvarez fight Golovkin to watching Sullivan fight against Gennady Golovkin? The pay-per-view numbers, you have to understand something. When Golovkin fought against, who was it? When he fought against David Lemieux, the pay-per-view numbers were extremely low. Imagine how the pay-per-view numbers would look if Golovkin fights against Sullivan instead of fighting against Canelo Alvarez, or instead of fighting against Demetrius Andrade, Darren Yevchenko, which brings me to the main topic for this video. Darren Yevchenko and his people, his promoter, Lou DiBella, they are putting tremendous pressure on Golovkin to take the Darren Yevchenko fight next. Why? Because just like Dominic Wade, just like Willie Monroe, were Golovkin's mandatories, and they were up next when it comes to the rotation of which mandatories get a shot at the champion. They were up next. It was their turn. And now it's Darren Yevchenko's turn. And Lou DiBella, once again, is putting the pressure on Golovkin to either take the fight or give up the belt. That's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to force Gennady Golovkin to either fight his mandatory or give up the belt. And we all know it makes all the sense in the world for Golovkin to fight the #1 mandatory instead of fighting a guy who's not even ranked in the top 15. That's a no-brainer. I'm telling you, man, Canelo fell in this test really threw a monkey wrench in the program for him and Gennady Golovkin. Snowball effect, man. Big time. Because if Golovkin goes in there and he fights against a Spike Sullivan or someone like that, not only is it going to be a bad look for Gennady Golovkin, but HBO is going to most likely take a hit. If those pay-per-view numbers are horrible, which I would assume they would be, HBO is going to take a major hit for that. So it's a lot of pressure on Golovkin right now. A lot of pressure on him. Because it's extremely difficult to justify you going from fighting Canelo to fighting Spike Sullivan or Jaime Munguia, however you say his name. It's extremely difficult to justify that, especially when you have a mandatory who should rightfully get the next shot at Gennady Golovkin. If you guys recall, Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, he was telling me we had to fight Dominic Wade. People complain about it, but we had to fight him because he was the mandatory. Well, guess what? Now Derevyanchenko is the mandatory. Now Charlo is the mandatory. Right? Now Danny Jacobs is about to be the mandatory again if he beats Zaleski. Or let's just say the winner of that fight becomes another mandatory for another one of Golovkin's belts. So there's a lot of pressure on Gennady Golovkin. Let's see what happens. I'm telling you guys right now, if he fights a Sullivan or this, well, he can't even fight the guy from Mexico anymore because NSAC, they ruled him out. They said that was too much of a mismatch. You know it's bad, man, when the commission is saying, Golovkin, that's too much of a mismatch. We can't allow you to do that. We're not going to allow it. That's a bad look for Gennady Golovkin. So let's see what happens. Let's see if they force Gennady Golovkin to step up in competition, like they forced Andre Ward to move up to 175. It's a hard knock life for Golovkin and Canelo right now. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us. Instead of treating, we get tricked.
It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treating, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treating, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked.
Carvel on the beat.